Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel, to what is basically an announcement stream of Chelsea essentially having a new owner. What a day, man. What an absolute whirlwind of a day. I mean, I thought, Clutch was saying he was about to go golfing. What happens instead, last night we bought it against Man United, as we do. We thought we'd have an off Friday and we'd go again tomorrow ahead of Everton on Sunday. But no, in the morning, first bit of news we get, Jim Ratcliffe, the British billionaire who was interested in Chelsea already a few years ago, put in a £4 billion offer last minute, 11th hour, as they said, and it was all kicking off, and everyone was like, what's going on? Then we get the news, Pagliuca is out. Then we get the news, Broughton is out. And then all of a sudden, we start hearing whispers, Boehly has won, and no mention of Jim Ratcliffe anymore. Who knows what's going on, or who knew at the time? Now, it seems to be confirmed that Rain, of course, the bank that Roman Abramovich put in charge of overseeing the takeover and the sale process of Chelsea Football Club, Rain and Chelsea have picked Todd Boehly as their preferred bidder, which now supposedly means they will enter some sort of exclusivity talks or whatever, in which they will probably also be meeting Roman Abramovich. So let's see how that goes. So it's not fully done, but it's basically done. Unless something absolutely insane happens in those, exclusivity. Am I using the right word, or is it just exclusive talks, whatever it is? But yeah, VJ will be joining us soon as well. But for the time being, I'm joined by my two boys, Pys, nearly said your real name then, and Clutch. First of all, Pys, thank you for being there as always, mate. What a day, man. How? And my perspective, and I know you weren't against Jim Ratcliffe, and I understand why people weren't. Obviously, his net worth is huge. He's even richer personally than Roman Abramovich is, which obviously Todd Boehly or anyone from his consortium can't say about themselves, if I'm not mistaken. But sorry, if someone misses a deadline by 2 weeks, and then it's clearly too late now, you've had a stinker, bro. Like, if you can't even hit a deadline and miss it by that far, and then you actually clown yourself that on the very day you release a full statement, we'll go through the statement later, of course, release a full statement about what you're going to do, what you've bid, and this and that, only for like 5 hours later news to come out that you lost, you've had a stinker. But Price, I mean, give us your summary of the day, give us your latest bit of news, anything that I've missed out, anything you want to add upon, go on.
Yeah, it's just been chaos today, honestly. I was waiting for this day for the last few months. I think we've all been hearing that every single week it's going to be this week, it's going to be this day, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, the Sir Jim Ratcliffe dagger comes out from the Times originally. And then I saw Matt Law retweet it and I thought, okay, this is very interesting. And I thought that maybe potentially he was going to win because, like, when something comes out of the blue like that, you think, well, has it been done behind closed doors? Is this going to happen very quickly after everything, all the weight we've been happening? He's obviously been behind the scenes. I think there's been several sources reporting that he had been planning this since March. But again, to come into a bid right now and bid yesterday and talk with Bruce Buck on Thursday, because there was reports of that.
If he won, great. But now that he didn't win, it's just really a big howler from him, I reckon.
100%. I think maybe he just tried to blow everyone out the water and kind of, I don't know, surprise maybe the other bidders, but I don't know. It was a huge bid, but look, Todd Boehly seems to have won. This is the guy that out of the three that had been shortlisted we wanted. He sounds the best, and yeah, let's see from here. We're going to get into a few tweets and articles and stuff, diving into it, but I mean, yeah, just for me now, once it happens, if it does happen, actions speak louder than words. Let's hope that everyone's made the right decision because, of course, I think this is the biggest sports sale in history. I'm pretty sure it turned out to be, which is absolutely huge. Like, it's crazy.
It really is. Another interesting bit, obviously, that we were like, Jim Ratcliffe blowing everyone out the water there with his £4 billion bid. Now, obviously, Nicola Imfeld, the guy that initially actually was the first one to ever report on Todd Boehly's interest with, obviously, the Swissman Hans-Jörg Wyss from the Blick in Switzerland. He said it's a bid of over £3.5 billion. But I've read elsewhere, I can't remember which article it was, but I've read elsewhere that also Todd Boehly's bid all in all is over $4 billion. So apparently you can't even say that Jim Ratcliffe outbid anybody. Apparently he didn't. Who knows, obviously, what's true? Who knows which numbers are true? Will we ever know? Who knows, right? But But it's a long day. I mean, obviously, we're in a group chat, as you might now be by now be aware. Obviously, ladies and gentlemen watching, considering we mentioned it plenty of times. But Clutch was very adamant. Nah. He was not having this new Jim Ratcliffe piece of news at all whatsoever. He was like, "What do you mean you just come in so late? Just give it to Boehly. He's been here all along. Go on then." Do you want to elaborate on that, or did I twist your words there, Clutch?
No, I mean, you hit it. I mean, it really annoyed me. It's like, we know it was publicly known that the deadline, like, if you really wanted it, then why didn't you put in a bid way back when? You clearly just, it's like a passing moment thing. Like, yeah, sure, they said he's been playing it since March. Then why aren't you putting in a bid? Like, it doesn't seem serious. There's a lot of things that just sketch me out with that guy. And he just comes in last minute. And I get people have like the alternative, like, yeah, we don't want the American owners and whatever. And he's definitely got money, so he can put the money into the club. But it's just, it's a lot of sketchy things come to just for this to happen like that. And I didn't like it. And I was like, we had all this time and you're going to add and it seems like you're adding another bidder. It's just going to take more time because now you got to sort between who's better between Boehly, who's better between Ratcliffe. And it's just like, well, we've already had 3 months of processes here. Just give it to Boehly. We've had like a month and a half of him basically planning it all out. We know nothing about Ratcliffe except one paragraph that he put later. No. Just give it to Boehly.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. I'm just trying to get up because to kind of go through today almost a little just in some sort of chronological order. Also, just to add it, because I might forget otherwise, Mateo Kovacic is back in training. So that's good news for once. But what I want to start with essentially is the statement by Jim Ratcliffe from this morning. We're just going to read through it. Obviously, you're now like, why are we even talking about him? Todd Boehly is the guy that won. Just like I said, for chronological order, I suppose, throughout the day. So let me just get that up on screen in a second. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, if you're watching, I appreciate you. Smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, if you want to get involved and use the super chat function, please do. But yeah, this was the statement as revealed or released, I think, well, not first, obviously, but through Alistair McGowan. Full statement from Jim Ratcliffe after £4.25 billion bid to buy Chelsea Football Club. This is a British bid for a British club. Was told earlier in the process there was an unknown bidder, but was also told they had gone away. Wow. So Ineos, or however it's pronounced, is obviously one of the companies, I assume, that Jim Ratcliffe owns. Statement from Ineos on the acquisition of Chelsea Football Club. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, chairman of Ineos, has made a formal bid for Chelsea FC for £4.25 billion. £2.5 billion is committed to the charitable trust to support victims of the war, with £1.75 billion committed to investment directly into the club over the next 10 years. This is a British bid for a British club. We believe that a club is bigger than its owners, who are temporary custodians of a great tradition with responsibility to fans and the community. That is why we're committing to spending £1.75 billion over 10 years. That will be for the direct benefit of the club. We will invest in Stamford Bridge to make it a world-class stadium befitting of Chelsea FC. This will be an organic and ongoing so that we will not move away from the home of Chelsea and risk losing the support of loyal fans. We will continue to invest in the team to ensure we have a first-class squad of the world's greatest players, coaches, and support staff in the men's and women's games. And we hope to continue to invest in the academy to provide opportunity for talented youngsters to develop into first-class players. We believe that London should have a club that reflects the stature of the city, one that is held in the same regard as Real Madrid, Barcelona, or Bayern Munich. We intend Chelsea to be that club. We are making this investment as fans of the beautiful game, not as means to turn a profit. We do that with our core businesses. The club is rooted in its community and its fans, and it's our intention to invest in Chelsea FC for that reason. No further comment will be made from Sir Jim or Ineos for the bidding process. Ends. And that was that. And like Pi said, when we heard it, we was all like, what's going on? Like, the fact that this came out so late, like, I was kind of stuck in two minds, because I think he had pros, he had cons. I think there was pros to now taking him over Boehly. There was also cons over now taking him over Boehly, because I would have also done something. If this happened now, I would have like, all right, so then you really just took the piss and you lot just cost us really good. Because if he won now, and this was also announced today or in the next couple of days, clearly things could have happened a lot quicker, right? So then why didn't they? Would have been my question. But I'm at the same time also a little bit annoyed because now I was given this. Now I'm like, okay, someone that is from here, someone that doesn't own another huge sports team. Of course, Jim Ratcliffe is actually the owner of Nice, which could theoretically have become an issue anyway because they're currently 5th in Liga, but they are still very much so in the fight for 3rd. And obviously in the Liga, only 3 teams qualify for the Champions League, but they were still in that fight. UEFA rules do say that that can't happen. Obviously, Pagliuca was in the short list and he owns 55% of Atalanta, but obviously he was part of a consortium, meaning Pagliuca wasn't necessarily going to have the majority stake, and maybe that would have been the way around the UEFA rules. But Jim Ratcliffe most certainly would have been, unless they would have made it under the name Ineos rather than Jim Ratcliffe himself, right? So now the only thing that annoyed me a little bit is that it made the day unnecessarily stressful. That I feel like it overshadowed everything for Todd Boehly, because now some people were like, wish we had Jim Ratcliffe. Well, if the whole Jim Ratcliffe stuff didn't come out today, all of us would have been pretty pleased had we found out that Todd Boehly won, because I think most Chelsea fans had come to an agreement over the last few weeks and months that out of the options that we had, Todd Boehly was going to be the best one, Todd Boehly and his consortium, right? And now Jim Ratcliffe ruined that. Well, was it him directly? Was it whichever the media is? Was it Rain who didn't inform the public that anything was happening earlier? We don't know for sure, but in our minds, it's certainly been a little bit dampened. Is that the right word? The whole situation. I mean, Clutch, you are obviously against Jim Ratcliffe, but when you read that statement, even though I'm just realizing this is probably for too small for any of you to actually properly read as well. But when you read that statement, it's not a bad statement.
Which one, sorry?
By Jim Ratcliffe.
Yeah, but well, it's all well and good, but didn't we hear the same thing from Boehly? Except not the only part that's different is this is
an official statement.
Yeah, but we had what other people who have spoken to the group has talked about. The only thing I think changes is this is a British bid for a British club. I think that's the only thing that changes between the two guys, from my perspective. So, I mean, it didn't matter.
Why does that matter, though, to you?
It doesn't matter to me. That's just the only thing I see different between the two.
Okay.
Like, for me, it all comes out of nowhere. And I know Pius said, well, the best work in silent, but it's not like Boehly has been like outspoken and has come out and said anything publicly.
Well, the best are also not 2 weeks late, so
that's where I'm coming from. It's just weird. It's all at a weird time. Like, it doesn't sit right with me that it's like we're 2 weeks past the deadline. He's coming in. We've already got pretty much everything down to the end game, and then he comes in and tries to make it an even harder decision. Like, sure, he could be a good owner, sure, but so could Boehly. But this could also drag out the process another month. We can't have it drag out another month. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I do agree that I wouldn't have wanted it to drag on any longer. I do agree on that part. At the same time, it depends on what kind of time frame we're talking here. Like, if it was 2 days, 4 days, would I have given a shit? No, compared to what we've already gone through. But had it extended it by a month, then sure. Now, the biggest pro that, in my opinion, Jim Ratcliffe had is that he was coming on his own and not with money largely through an equity firm, and the equity firm actually holding the majority stake. Because I like Todd Boehly. I like Mark Walter. I like what they did with the Dodgers. I like what I've read about them. I like what I know about them. They have a good track record. But there's always a certain element of risk involved when an equity firm, an investment firm, is largely involved. I'm not saying it's always a negative, because there's clearly plenty of examples where that works, where that's the case, that's fine. But we were all very happy in general with the situation with Roman Abramovich. Jim Ratcliffe, from everything that we had heard until today, was probably the closest thing to having a similar owner. And that's, I think, why a lot of people jumped on that, saying, we want Ratcliffe, because he's the guy with big individual money, more than Roman Abramovich, and he would have been a one-guy owner. And that would have had its positives, 1,000,000%. So obviously he could have made wrong decisions, but certain decisions would have been made quicker if it's one guy in charge than if it's a whole consortium. Do you know what I mean? That is 1,000,000% an advantage that Jim Ratcliffe would have had. But, and I said this at the time, why are you so late? Do you have the same level of detail of plan as Todd Boehly had? Because Pagliuca didn't, And Broughton didn't. They had plans, but no one had as good and as detailed of a plan as Boehly. So who's to say Jim Ratcliffe would have done? So that's something I don't know. So I'm never going to say he was better or worse, but I didn't know it yet, right? So it was all up in the air. I mean, Pys, how did you feel when you read this statement from Jim Ratcliffe? And was the thing of him being a one owner guy situation, was that the one thing that kind of made you gravitate towards it as well, rather than anything else?
Yeah, 100%. Look, I know Todd Boehly is working with Clearlake Capital, and one of the individuals involved, they've been partners. So it's not like Todd Boehly's bid's a mess. I thought Pagliuca's and Sir Martin Broughton's were more kind of, I don't know, fishy, kind of like dodgy kind of thing. You know, I don't like to have too many investors personally. And, you know, we'll see what happens with that. But this statement, I think, was it was pretty good when I read it. You know, I think when they said we're committed to spending 1.75 billion over 10 years, I mean, I'm pretty sure Boehly's and I mean the other three had to agree to 1 billion. So I'm not sure whether they're allowed to go over that, whether they will, or I don't know, over a certain amount of years. But again, like we're missing quite a lot of details. But yeah, it's a good statement. But just what do you
That's
believe
half of
again?
the problem,
Like,
though, isn't it? That we were missing all of these details.
yeah, like it's just you choose. I think everyone has the right to choose what they believe, and for me, actions speak louder than words. With whoever comes in, you know, any one of these groups could have made this statement. But there's a few things I did like in it, in terms of the we believe that London should have a club that reflects the stature of a city and stuff like that. I liked that. I liked that they said it was a British bid for a British club. You know, I think that would have gone down well with the government, and I like the fact they said first class squad of the world's greatest players. But again, it's what you believe. Is this just PR? Because you know this
That's
gets
what all the
released.
owners said, really. Oh, we'll invest. We'll keep winning trophies. We'll
Yeah,
invest in the best players.
so
Like
that's
they
what I
all
mean.
said the
Like,
same thing in that sense.
yeah, so that's why it's hard. It's like it's up to really the you know Roman Abramovich and everyone else to decide who's lying, who's you know who they think's lying, who they think's serious, and things like that. But we'll never know until someone gets in charge, and that's kind of the scary thing about it with any of these guys that could have taken over. We just won't know until we find out. It's exciting, but it's scary as hell because we've just been so used to winning trophy after trophy under Abramovich, and we don't know whether Chelsea's going to adopt a different model, whether we're going to keep bankrolling transfers every summer. You know, we don't know what the wage bill is going to be like, sponsors. Like, it's just so it's exciting, but it's so scary as well. Like, going to be completely honest with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree. It is a scary time. I just had something I thought in my mind, which I want to talk about now. I lost, unfortunately. So let me get to Rodrigo's super chat. Appreciate it. Saying Ratcliffe initially distanced himself from Chelsea, and when it was announced that Roman was willing to sell, his bid feels like desperation from him. And I don't disagree. I mean, someone on Twitter put it like, so Ratcliffe, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a strange fellow. First, he said Chelsea is overpriced. Then he is not interested. Now, gate crashed the process in the last minute. That is weird. And those things did happen, right? So why first say you're not interested? Why first say it's overpriced and then turn up with a £4 billion offer? Like it just doesn't come across that seriously. I don't know. It's a tough one. Like, I don't know. I'm a bit annoyed at myself that I just lost what I wanted to say. But before I get to Jess, the super chat, which I appreciate very much, of course, we are now also joined by VJ. I'm not sure if VJ will at some point turn his camera on or not, or if he's fully ready or not. Just speak if you are. Otherwise, I'll hold it on for a second and we'll move on.
I am ready. Can you hear me, Laurenz?
I can hear you. No camera today. All good, mate.
Yeah, no camera today because my internet bandwidth is pretty low.
Oh no. Well, hopefully it improves and maybe you can turn it on later. But what a crazy day, man. Obviously, you being out in India, different time zone. So the time scale of things was slightly different. But all of a sudden, we had the Jim Ratcliffe news. Next thing you know, it's Todd Boehly anyway. What are your thoughts?
Chelsea never fails to keep me, awake at the night. Most of the time, all this news comes in the night time. But one thing that I wanted to say was the way that the Ratcliffe news came out. Of course, we were all excited about the money factor of it, like over 4 billion. So we thought, okay, fine. If it is over 4 billion, probably he's the highest bidder, and we might have a new owner in there was this thing called a mystery bid, right? That was doing rounds. So maybe we thought, okay, fine, this is going to be the mystery bid. It might well as be the mystery bid, but right now the news that are coming out, it seems that Jim is acting out of desperation. He's just come out and said, you know what, I've put that bid, and it's probably going to get rejected. So why keep it a secret anymore? So I think it's the result of that, and Todd is probably winning this race now.
It's an interesting way of looking at it, because if he knew he wasn't going to win now, then he was about the last one I would have wanted, because if he knew he was winning, to release that information today, all that caused was chaos. And I wouldn't have wanted anyone that purposely causes chaos at Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's literally the last thing I want. Just, of course, with the shot, shall we say, all hail Boehly, our new Chelsea overlord. Cry more if you don't want him as an owner, because he's American. Let's go, boys. Kunde income, USA.
I think his first tweet was, from Justice was that he's going to sign Christian Pulisic on a new deal at $250K a week. I was like, no, that's not happening.
No, probably not. Now, what I want to highlight is I think I'm going to go first with the article by Sky Sports, because the first big source that came out with this was the BBC. But the BBC had like a 3-sentence article, if I want to call it that, about it. But the first ones that had a relatively big one was actually Sky, through Mark Kleinman. Fair play to them. So we're just going to read through that quickly, and then we might touch on the article by The Athletic and a few other tweets as well later on. Chelsea FC sale. Boehly-led group set for exclusive talks to clinch £4 billion deal. Todd Boehly and Clearlake Capital in pole position to buy Chelsea, despite an 11th hour bid from the petrochemicals tycoon. Petrochemicals, there you go. Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So he's not supporting the environment. He was also a fan of Brexit, so I don't like him. A Californian private equity firm has edged closer to becoming the new majority owner of Chelsea Football Club after securing a period of exclusivity to clinch a deal. So what that essentially means, if I'm not mistaken, is that we'll highlight it again where it's explained again, but basically Todd Boehly and this consortium now have a period of 5 to 7 days apparently to, I'm not sure with who directly. Is it Rain? Is it Chelsea? Is it Roman? Is it all three? But basically be in talks to, in the end, sign the agreement. To, by the end of that 5 to 7 days, sign the agreement. But let's continue with that, and let's get to further, bits of news in a little bit. A group spearheaded by Todd Boehly, the LA Dodgers part owner, overcame opposition from rival consortia on Friday to land preferred bidder status in the battle to replace Roman Abramovich as the Blues owner. Mr. Boehly's bid would see voting rights shared equally between him and Clearlake Capital, a Californian private equity firm. Clearlake, which has no direct ownership pedigree in major sports assets, would become a majority of the share. Would own a majority of the shares in Chelsea. Sky News revealed last week. That's the part, if anything, I don't like about Todd Boehly. Most of the other things, I'm a fan. The group is being advised by Goldman Sachs and Robbie Warshaw, where the former Chancellor and Chelsea fan George Osborne and now works as a partner. George Osborne now works as a partner. Sources said that Mr. Boehly's group's exclusivity period, which was first reported by the Wall Street Journal, would last several days. On another day of behind-the-scenes drama at Stamford Bridge, however, the British petrochemicals tycoon Sir Jim Ratcliffe said he had offered £4.25 billion to buy Chelsea, despite having said publicly as recently as this year that the club was overpriced. Sir Jim's entry into the race to buy Chelsea is thought to have come too late, although there remains a possibility that he could buy Chelsea if the Boehly-led bid is unable to be completed. So actually, this Sky article is pretty good because they're kind of covering everything I wanted to get through later anyway. Mr. Boehly's group is understood to have agreed to a request from Mr. Abramovich, reported by Sky News on Thursday, so actually yesterday, that its bid be increased by £500 million to boost the cash being donated to a foundation being set up to benefit the victims of the war in Ukraine. A spokesman for Mr. Boehly's bid declined to comment. It was unclear on Friday whether the financing structure of Mr. Boehly's offer with Clearlake had altered as a result of the request for the additional £500 million. Already this week, manager Thomas Tuchel said, blah, blah, blah. This is kind of now coming as a bit of a bunch of waffle. Yeah, I'm going to go as the rest as being a bunch of waffle. This has summed it up quite well in general, I would say. Pys, let me go back to you. now 5 to 7 days to sort everything out. Any fears that there could be stumbling blocks in that, or are you confident that this is now, we're now very much so nearing the end of all this drama?
Yeah, I think, look, the main thing was picking the preferred bidder, and then I think from now it would just be about paperwork and waiting, and then I guess thinking about the summer. I'm guessing once this is sorted, a lot of stories will come out, people hiding behind the scenes details. So I'm looking forward to reading all that. I'm sure he's told people his plans, but if he wins, and then for a release date and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to all that. I guess it's just a waiting game now. To be fair, it might go like in a couple of days. It might just go quiet, and then we might just get an announcement when he signed the agreement or whatever. But yeah, this was obviously the big day. We needed to find out who was going to be the owner, and now it's, I guess, legal necessities and things like that. And again, like a lot of people are saying, a lot of reporters are saying that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not completely out of the race, because if this bid falls through, with the paperwork, or I don't know, fit and proper persons test or whatever could happen, then potentially he could come back in. So look, I mean, Nazar also reported that Todd Boehly's going to meet Roman Abramovich. So, I mean, what's to stop Roman Abramovich not liking him once he meets him, or not agreeing with something and then, refusing to sell to him? Who knows? So there's still twists and turns that could happen, but I think majority of it is now done, I would think.
I would probably agree, man. I mean, it's a tough one, because if you're as rich and as successful as Todd Boehly and the rest of the people in that consortium are, chances are you know what to do, what to say, how to act, how to behave when you come face to face with the guy you're buying something from for £4 billion, right? So personally, I see the likelihood of they don't get on not being the biggest issue. Obviously, Hans-Jürgen has made certain comments directed at or about Roman Abramovich when this whole process started. But, I mean, he's 86. Last time we heard about him, he was cross-country skiing in Finland with a rifle because he was so close to the Russian border. So who knows whether he'll meet Roman Abramovich. He's definitely not scared of going anywhere near Russian, so that's something, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, like I say, this guy thing has kind of revealed or explained most things in quite a bit of detail, if I'm honest. But Clutch, you were happy with him. You are happy with him. Is the fact that Clearlake is as involved and will share the same size of shares, shall we say, is that a minor issue to you? Because an equity firm, a private equity firm, which has zero previous experience or track record of being involved in any sports team, it does sound a bit dodgy when you focus on that part.
Yeah, it does, and I think that is the negative side of his bid, because Boehly himself has seemingly wanted. He doesn't seem like he wants to buy this club like the Glazers did with United, simply because the money output that they can bring in for them. It seems like he wants to build something that is more of a winning team than just a franchise globally like Man United are. And I know a lot of people in the chat are like, doom and gloom, it's an American owner. Like, it's fine. There are bad American owners. There are good American owners. Not very many, granted, but you can't base it off of that alone.
I need to interrupt you, otherwise I'll forget again. Because the one thing I wanted to say, I'm so sorry, Clutch, but I forgot it earlier, so I can't risk it again. The one thing I wanted to say about Ratcliffe still is this whole British owner for a British club. The track record of any British owner of British clubs is not particularly great. Mike Ashley being one. No other club in the Premier League is specifically owned by British people. I mean, Norwich might. I don't know. Aren't they owned by this random woman? Well, they're going down. Is any? I mean, I don't know about Brentford, who owns them. I have no idea. Do you know what I mean? Or Brighton or whatever. I'm sure there's some, but none at the very top. That's for sure. Although, is Daniel Levy, nationality-wise, is he English? But
when I just looked up, Spurs are owned by all English.
Well, there you go. Spurs own Boehly. So I guess there is an acceptable example. Obviously, us as Chelsea fans won't look at it that way, but you've got to look at it in a way from where they've come from for being shit. So they're a little bit less shit these days than they used to be, I guess. So it is an improvement. But yeah, there's not more good British owners than there is American owners. So you can't say, I don't want the Americans because they're always bad owners in football. the British don't have the track record to be particularly much better, except maybe Daniel Levy. But like I said, I'm sure there is a few. I don't know. Like I say, Brighton. Who owns Aston Villa? They spend a lot of money, but who owns them? I don't know. Crystal Palace, fair enough. But are they challenging what we challenge for? No. So yeah, you all forgot about the Swiss investor. And I literally talked about him 2 minutes ago. But sure. But sorry, Clutch, I interrupted you. I just wanted to say that about the British owners before we read through this Telegraph article. But yeah, about the Clear Lake thing.
But yeah, I think any owner could be as good or as bad as the other. You don't know until you get them in. So I get the point. Like, Ratcliffe is a single owner. He's going to be more similar to Roman, but there's literally an ire of sketchiness about him doing this. It doesn't sit right with me, especially at the last minute, especially when we're so close to being at the end anyway. Maybe it would have taken 3 more days. Maybe could have. But how would that have been fair to the other guys who've been in this process for about a month? Maybe it's not. Maybe life isn't fair, and we can understand that. But I think this last minute thing just it sketched me out to the point where I can understand the concerns about Boehly, but I think for the most part he will have most of the say in it. And he's, as from everything I've ever heard about him, and like whether it be the Canaville who said he met with him and he seems like he has the most direct plan to bring us forward, then that is where I'm sitting. It's the people who have spoken to the group and kind of understand it, and they say that he's the best. So I'm going to base my opinion off of that.
Fair enough. I mean, Steve Nicol making a point here. British owners have been running our club since association football was invented. Well, mate. Brilliant. Smart ass. Point is about what's happening in modern football, which is clearly very different compared to the late 1800s when association football was invented, right? So, come on. Yeah, it is relatively new, 100%, but we are in 2022, not in 1922, are we? Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, Lucas said it here. No way Roman is selling to a British man. I'm not sure if Roman will care that much, but considering, not necessarily, I mean, to him directly as well, of course. Sorry, I didn't realize, Pies, that you did that. No. But yeah, fair enough. Maybe it isn't quite as drastic with the British owners, but like I say, the last high-profile one was Mike Ashley, and ask Newcastle fans. Just ask them what he thinks. But let's quickly get through this article by the Telegraph, unless Clutch wanted to add something more to that. I don't think you did, right?
Nope.
There you go. So let's read through this before I put it back to BJ. Todd Boehly's group wins race to buy Chelsea despite Sir Jim Ratcliffe's 11th hour bid. Sources have told Telegraph Sport that the American will be confirmed as the club's preferred buyer in a deal worth more than £3.5 billion. Again, this is where some say 3.5 billion or over. Some say 4 billion for him as well. Who knows? Todd Boehly has won the race to buy Chelsea in a deal worth more than 3.5 billion pounds, despite a dramatic late hijack attempt from Britain's richest man, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Although here, there has not yet been official confirmation from the Boehly Group, Chelsea or Rain, the bank in charge of the sale. Sources have told the Telegraph Sport that the American will be confirmed as the club's preferred bidder. On the same day, Boehly's two shortlisted rivals, the groups fronted by Stephen Pagliuca and Sir Martin Broughton, were told they would not advance as preferred buyers. Ratcliffe tabled an 11th hour offer worth up to £4.25 billion. Of course, as we mentioned already, Ratcliffe's bid, which was submitted on Friday morning, which is mental if that's actually true and happened this morning, sparked confusion around the sale process over whether or not Chelsea and Rain would effectively let him in through the back door following weeks of negotiations with the other three shortlisted groups. But insiders on the Pagliuca and Broughton bids expected Boehly to be named as the preferred bidder, while sources close to the process told Telegraph Sport that the Ratcliffe's bid had come too late to be immediately advanced, which again, clown. Chelsea, Rain and the Boehly Group did not comment on the situation or reports from America that the part owner of the LA Dodgers and LA Lakers had been chosen as the club's preferred bidder. I didn't even know he was part of the LA Lakers as well, but there you go. There was also no comment on the Ratcliffe bid, with further talks between Chelsea and Rain set to take place ahead of any official announcement. The fact that Boehly's group were not informed that they had not advanced, along with Pagliuca and Broughton, indicated strongly that he will soon be confirmed as the preferred bidder. And sources confidently informed Telegraph Sport that Chelsea's intention is to advance Boehly and his group for UK government approval ahead of a license for the sale of the club to be issued. VJ, obviously, I'm sure you've been here in the past when we discussed certain things, but what's your thoughts on the Todd Boehly stuff? Like, does it bother you at all that there's an equity firm, private equity firm, which will hold the majority stake, but Todd Boehly will have the controlling stake, hence why they will have equal say, but in percentages, he will even own less than the equity firm, if I'm not mistaken. Does that bother you at all, or is it still for you like Team Todd?
From a business perspective, if you ask me, usually consortiums like this or combination of companies like this obviously have one person who's representing them, which is Todd Boehly in this case, but majority of the decisions are going to be through that boardroom, which apparently will have major Clear Lake stakeholders, if I'm not mistaken. If that's going to be the case, then obviously decision making is not going to be easier, and that's a bit of a worrying sign for me. But if you ask me, do we have another option? We don't. So, which means out of the worst options that we had, I think this one is a better of the worst, is how I put it, because I wanted. I'm not. I mean, it's not just me. A lot of people wanted just one person to own the club, right? But it's realistically not possible at this point in time, given the pandemic and impact on that for a lot of companies and major business people. So it's going to be anyways a consortium. Even if Jim Ratcliffe has come in, I don't think so Ineos is going to be owning the entirety of Chelsea club if that transfers, if that translates into a successful bid. So anyways, we're going to get a consortium. So out of that, if you ask me which of this consortium is better, I'd go for anyways Todd Boehly, because we kind of know who the people involved right now, in contrary to that of a Jim Ratcliffe bid, because we only know Ineos who's involved in that consortium. The rest of it is unknown. So I believe if you look at the pros and cons, if you weigh the pros and cons, I believe Todd Boehly bid is one such bid where he has been. He's not been too public, he's not been too vocal, but at the same time, he's made the right amount of public interactions in the way that it had to be made. And I think it was really appealing when he stayed back for a game and witnessed the game, just watching, putting on a cap. I think a lot of people, when I went to Spaces and YouTube channels,
games for now, I think you also watch us lose to Arsenal, so that's fun.
Yeah, not the best game to go, but then kind of gives him a picture right now of what Chelsea needs right now, right? But anyway, but what I was trying to say was that that level of interaction where it did not go overboard, at the same time, it shouldn't look fake as well, right? So I think he kind of managed that really well. I hope this kind of bid gets successful, and then we get Todd Boehly as the owner. American and all of that apparently is a bit concerning for a lot of people, and I think it will still, Laurenz, I'm telling you today, okay, any mistake Todd is going to make, the first point that is going to be raised up is that it's because he's American, which might not apparently have anything to do with it, but that's something that he probably have to live with, or the board have to live with, right?
And do you think Jim Ratcliffe wouldn't have had to deal with that? Obviously not American, but in terms of as soon as they make a mistake, they will. I think whoever would be the new owner of Chelsea Football Club, no matter where they would have been from, there would have been criticism the first time they do something wrong. I don't think that is.
Yeah, there would have been criticism
to Boehly being American.
But the criticism wouldn't have been based on nationality, is what I'm trying to say. If it was Jim.
Or if it was a British man, I think it might have been. Not from the very same people, but of part of the fan base at least. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, obviously the politics comes into picture that time. Because when I was talking about Jim as well, I had a couple of people who popped in and talked about the Brexit and how politically they didn't align with Jim. So yeah, of course, he has to deal with that sort of a politics. But then when it comes to Todd, I think this is something that needs to be dealt with. And given the fact that now most of the top clubs in the Premier League are owned by American owners, it's a bit of a rat race there.
There you go. Hey, it is a tough one. One thing I want to highlight now, which Clutch has sent us, because, you know, when people try to doubt me, I like to tell them they're wrong. This is a list of all the owners of Premier League clubs, right? Stan Kroenke, main owner of Arsenal, American. Aston Villa, Egyptian and American. Brentford and Brighton, who are both said to be fair, English owned. Burnley, American owned. Chelsea, of course, we're aware of. Crystal Palace, Steve Parish might well be from London, but majority shareholder is John Textor from the US. Everton, I mean, English, British, but, you know, Farhad Moshiri is, I'm pretty sure that's the Iranian flag. There you go. Don't know which he identifies as more, I guess, or maybe kind of Iranian, kind of British, who knows. Leeds United, owned by Italian and Americans. Leicester City by Thai owner. Liverpool, American. Man City, obviously Saudi, not Saudi, United Arab Emirates, of course. Newcastle, Saudi. Norwich, funnily enough, major shareholder is Welsh, but at least British. Southampton, Serbian. Tottenham, of course, like we discussed, English. Watford, Italian, as the world is kind of aware. West Ham United, to be fair, David Sullivan is Welsh, but then obviously recently that Czech guy got involved. And Wolves, which I had no idea about, maybe I should have done, is seemingly completely owned by China. Or not by China, by Chinese individuals. So yeah, not a lot of English ownership going on here. So yeah, like I said, not a particularly brilliant track record, is it? But yeah, what was the next thing I wanted to highlight? What was the next thing I should highlight? Why don't we go through Ben Jacobs' bids? Maybe that will be tweets. Maybe that will be quite interesting. And if you're still here, by the way, we have 350 people watching. I appreciate it very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please do subscribe. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers, and I really want to get there before the end of the season. So we have less than a month to go, and we have more than 1,000, more than 1,100 still to go. So all of you that are not subscribed right now need to go down below and hit that big red subscribe button. You get all the latest news like this, right? You don't have to follow Twitter all day long like we do. We do it for you. So you just watch our streams and we inform you about it. And obviously all the Chelsea game reactions, previews, and all sorts of madness. So get involved, subscribe, smash the like button. And if you want to get involved with the super chats, why don't you do that as well? But let me get Ben Jacobs' tweets up, even though a little bit difficult to find when you have some threads and some individual tweets. But hey, Chelsea sale has taken a huge twist. This is what he tweeted 3 hours ago. With a 2. How many more times am I going to say 4.25 billion pounds offer? Even though he said million, which is obviously wrong. But anyway, from Jim Ratcliffe, there was always talk of a fifth mystery bidder, but Rain played this down. The offer will be billed as last minute, but has been planned, but not tabled since late March. So it wasn't like a super last-ditch effort, but that makes it even sillier to me. If you've been planning this since March and you couldn't get it done before April 29th, my days are you slow. However, Ratcliffe has still bypassed the process a little and jumped straight to the final stage. Stephen Pagliuca is out the running. The Broughton bid has failed too, with partial loan funding behind the financing seen as negative. The Boehly bid is still best positioned to be the preferred bidder, but as of now, they have not entered into exclusive talks yet, or been told they are the preferred bidder. Ratcliffe's bid has clearly complicated matters. Also, thanks to the Chelsea sale for descending into chaos on my day off. Yeah, brilliant. Cheers, mate. Still no confirmation yet. That Boehly is the preferred bidder, but Pagliuca and Broughton have both failed. Ratcliffe bid is either a PR move or a late twist. Unclear yet if it's being seriously considered, having missed the sale deadline. That will be interesting to find out. Then hilarious meme. Not really, but anyway. Boehly Group source confirms they will not enter exclusive talks to buy Chelsea. There is surprise and bemusement, as they said, at the timing of Ratcliffe's statement / offer. But the situation is clear now. The Boehly Group is the preferred bidder. Now, enjoy your dinner, Ben. And the Jacobs bid were only told an hour ago, about 12 Eastern time, I presume that stands for. They were the preferred bidder. However, they have been confident for weeks. They are surprised and confused by the Ratcliffe bid, but don't see it as cause for concern as they look to complete the sale before May 31st. First of all, please quicker. Second of all right. So that's the latest news. Shout out Ben Jacobs. He's done a good job throughout this whole drama that has unfolded upon us. Let me take it back to you, Pies. We're now in a position where we know who it's going to be. That tweet by Ben Jacobs just said, or where we're almost certain who it's going to be. We have this 5 to 7 day period for the exclusivity talks to basically sign the agreement, to get the sale done. Now, it is said that the Premier League have tried to be accommodating to us and already have done their due diligence work and the background checks in terms of the fit for purpose test, even if I keep saying that test wrong. But anyway, you know what I'm going on about. In the background, obviously, that would have been another thing if it was Jim Ratcliffe that would have only started now, even though with the other bidders, it was already being done. But of course, the UK government stuff probably would have gone through quick, especially with the current Tory government being in charge, and Jim Ratcliffe, like I say, being a supporter of Brexit, as I was told. Not sure if it's true. Don't follow, especially back then. Didn't follow what British billionaire had to say about British politics. But now it's the time frame. Are you confused still that they keep going on about this 31st of May? Like, what's left that should take that long? Like, UK government has been well aware of what's happening, so like they know who Todd Boehly is. So unless they have a major problem with it, number one, if they had a major problem with him, they should have told us that, please, a long time ago, not now, right? So that shouldn't take that long in my head. And then if the Premier League have been doing their work already on the three bidders that were involved until today and Jim Ratcliffe turned up, then again, why should anything be taken another month from now?
Yeah, I think maybe the end of the month or next month, is it? We in May yet? No, but we are. No,
Nope.
not quite.
29th
The end of
of
next month. Yeah, I guess that was just like the final deadline, maybe to cover the tracks a little bit, give them an extra time. But I think from what's been reported, look, 5 to 7. Say next week is signing the papers. Then you've got to do the fit and proper persons test, which the Premier League have said. I think, is it Richard Masters? I think one of them, I believe that's him, said the quickest they could do that is 10 days. So you're looking at about 2 weeks from now as the minimum for him to officially be the owner, which would, probably take us into mid-May, I think. So, yeah, hopefully it's not too tight. And, I mean, even if we get to the end of May, they can also extend, obviously, the license. But by then, I mean, you're looking at transfer window time. So you kind of want this to be done by mid-May for them to get their feet into the ground, start planning, start talking to Tuchel, assess the squad, assess the wage bill, things like that. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. And I just found it hilarious the other day as well. Like, I really haven't liked the government throughout this whole process, and who they're linked to. I think, is it the DCMS, Digital and Cultural, I can't remember the last two. Something sports.
Some ministry sports or something.
Yeah, something like that. There was a lady from there who went on to talk sport, and she said, "Well, Chelsea are on very, very thin ice right now. They need to get this sale done soon. We've given them enough time." Blah blah blah. And she was like, the talk sport interviewer said, "What happens if they get to the 31st of May and it's not sold and the owners are not in?" She's like, "I can't have those discussions right now, but Chelsea are on thin ice." So, look, the government and these people are just being absolute dicks. So, hopefully this gets sorted soon, because I don't want any more disruptions. Like, it's just been it feels like such a long process, but when you read the reports and everything that people are saying, this is actually one of the quickest sales in sports history. Usually this would take several, 4 or 5 months, etc. So yeah, we'll see.
That is fair. Now, Pies, I was just trying to look through Matt Law's tweets to find what you put in the private chat about 20 minutes ago. I can't find it. Does that mean you deleted it, or is it because we read through the article?
No, he did a new one about like 5 things that the owners will have to sort out.
New article. Okay, I get the new article up then. There you go. That's fine. And we can read through that because that's supposedly going to be interesting. Now, one other thing before I do that someone in the chat asked us, or asked me essentially, to talk about is, please explain the part with the 500 million price increase that Roman Abramovich has apparently personally asked to be added. Now, reportedly, this is basically only used to increase the money that's going to be spent on charity. That's going to be given to charity to the victims of the war. Again, obviously, there's a little bit of confusion about the wording of that. Does that mean, will that in the end, in Roman's idea, go to Russian victims of the war, or Ukraine's, or both, or just Ukraine's? That's what we don't know, obviously. But essentially, yeah, Roman just wanted more money to put to donate, essentially. That's what it was dealt as official, or that's what it was reported as officially, at least. And then one other thing, I guess, maybe it was almost like a, what's the word? Like a, like a test almost. Like, increase the price, and if they have a huge problem with it, then they clearly don't have enough money to do what we need at Chelsea anyway. So they're automatically out of the discussion. And apparently, one of the three bidders was okay with it. Seemingly, considering Todd Boehly is now picked as the preferred bidder, likely his consortium. But is there anything else or more that needs to be explained about that 500 mil price increase, Pies?
I don't think so. Just did you mention it was going to apparently go to charity, right? As an extra, as an extra sort of. I mean, 500 million's a lot. I don't know. Like, maybe Roman just tries to get this back eventually, and maybe he's just trying to squeeze as much money about the sale. I don't know. It was a weird report, but it's interesting. Maybe Roman was trying to test
who knows even
most
if it's
serious.
true, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, who was it from? I think from Sky News. So I'm sure it is true. That Mark Kleiman, by the way, has been so good throughout all of this. So that's the only reason why.
no, when I say in as in true, I mean as in I'm sure it happened, but it could be that they'll say, actually, this was just a test. So, yeah, shut those 500 mil. Just wanted to test whether you're willing to it. We don't know. Like, something will need to be discussed in these exclusivity talks. So, they need to talk about something.
Yeah, I mean, Nazar also said that he's going to meet Abramovich, Boehly. So, yeah, a lot of talks will happen. Like, at the end of the day, Roman's probably going to sit there staring at him, asking a load of questions. So I'd love to be in that interview. That'd be hilarious.
Wouldn't we all, mate? Wouldn't we all? Before I get to that next article by the Telegraph, let me get to that super chat by Swiss Daniel. Appreciate you very much saying up there, effing Chelsea. Us fans and players have now got some clarification. Let's move now and improve this team in the summer. Well, so we all hope. Unfortunately, Antonio Rudiger couldn't wait a whole 3 days. Obviously, the thing isn't done now, but now he would know. And now he couldn't wait a whole 3 days. Brilliant, Matt. Cheers, lad. But yeah, appreciate the donations, Swiss. Daniel, I was confused. Is that because you're Swiss and you're saying Swiss, even though it's not Swiss? Or is that your actual name? Anyway, I'd be intrigued. But let me get this other article up. I haven't read any of it myself yet, so interesting. All the same, no, that's not the one I wanted. Or did he add anything to it? Because I tried to click it now. I didn't highlight. I didn't open it yet. Ignore me. I just had the Twitter page open rather than the article itself. Give me half a second. It's opening as we speak. Let's get share screen up so we can actually talk about it. Someone in the chat said earlier, let's go through Todd Boehly's Wikipedia page. I'm not sure what exactly the benefit from that would be, but sure. Here we are. Let me just zoom in a little bit so you can read it a little bit better. Todd Boehly's Chelsea in tray. Whatever that means. The 5 biggest tasks facing the new owner at Stamford Bridge. Telegraph Sport assesses the areas Boehly's consortium will need to address immediately before working on long-term plans. All right. Todd Boehly's consortium faces a baptism of fire after winning the race to buy Chelsea. With a number of issues hanging over the club. Here, Telegraph Sport assesses the areas the group will need to address immediately for working on their long-term plans, which will include the redevelopment of Stamford Bridge. Number 1, Thomas Tuchel. Chelsea's head coach refused to take part in any of the talks with prospective buyers during the sale process, but the new owners will now prioritize holding discussions with Tuchel. Great news. Tuchel is used as one of Chelsea's biggest assets, and the German must be kept happy and assured that he will be backed. With 2 years to run on the contract he extended last year, Tuchel has made it clear that he wants to stay at Chelsea, but also that he wants to work for owners who want to win. Tuchel will want assurances over summer transfer plans and the size of his budget, with Chelsea needing to replace Antonio Rudiger and Andreas Christensen, as well as needing to strengthen in other areas of the squad. He will also be keen to find out whether or not the recruitment structure will change, as Tuchel has made it clear that he would like to keep working closely with director Marina Granovskaia and technical and performance advisor Petr Cech. Now, that first part sounds pretty good, I would say. Clutch. I mean, obviously, a lot of this is just what the Telegraph is saying. This needs to happen, but apparently, the new owners will now prioritize holding discussions with Tuchel, so that's good.
Yeah, like it says, he is one of our biggest assets we have. Whatever he wants is what we need to be doing. Obviously, so I mean, like if he wants Tchouaméni, get him Tchouaméni. Don't ask questions. If he wants Dembele, try get Dembele. That's just like it's pretty common knowledge at this point. Thomas Tuchel is the guy to lead us forward within the next 5 years, much like Klopp was with Liverpool. That's just kind of how I see it. So I understand that he doesn't want to take part in it just yet, but eventually he's going to have some kind of conversation with them. So for me, it's very smart if like the person you want the most is Thomas Tuchel.
There you go. I mean, CFC Prototype saying Chelsea going in for Paul Mitchell. Well, as long as we don't give him the control he had in Monaco, I might be okay with that. If we give him that control, absolutely not, mate. Let's continue reading if there's anything more interesting or if they're just waffling. On Marina Granovskaia, one of the biggest questions surrounding the change of Chelsea's ownership has centered around the future of Marina Granovskaia. Granovskaia, who has pretty much run Chelsea since Roman Abramovich became an absent owner, is rated as one of the best in the business, with Chelsea already playing catch-up in the transfer market, with Manchester City setting up a deal for Erling Haaland after Mino Raiola did not buy. Another bit of madness going on yesterday. The expectation is Granovskaia will be left in charge of the club's transfer business for at least the summer. But whether or not she agrees to stay on may well rest on whether or not she will be afforded the same freedom and level of control under the new owner. The fact that she played such a key part in the sale of the club suggested to some that under the right circumstances, Granovskaia would like to stay on, at least in the short term. Tuchel would certainly see it as a boost if Granovskaia keeps the position, as the pair have struck up a good working relationship along with Petr Cech. Now, BJ, what's your perspective on this? Now, the part I'm not a big fan of where it says whether or not she agrees to stay may well rest on whether or not she will. Can I not talk? She will be afforded the same freedom and level of control under a new owner. I guess that's the slightly questionable part. But at the same time, if she has the control but is advised correctly, it's no problem. Because I don't see her as that. Maybe Pies disagrees. I don't see her as like a control, power hungry. No, it's my way or no way. I don't see her as that. I don't think she would have made it into this position if that's what she was like, especially having worked under Roman Abramovich for as long as she has. I don't think Roman Abramovich deals with people that think their way is the only right way. I think, if anything, it's more people that are able to read the room, if I'm honest. So I think if she has the control but is advised better and then overall will make good decisions, there's no problem with her staying, even in the same amount of control. I know Pies will again disagree with that, but Vijay, how do you see that?
Yeah, I think you make a valid point when you say management is not linear, right? I mean, she knows how to manage situations and she knows how to overcome them as well. She's dealt with multiple situations. I don't doubt the quality of Marina as as someone in the senior management of a entity, right? But of a football club, that's altogether a different issue. But a couple of points I have here, Laurenz. One thing I personally believe that she would. I mean, a lot of people actually think she's going to make through this transition. She's going to be part of the next group as well, which I won't agree with. I think she is probably going to be out on her way. Not immediately, maybe 1 year or so. She's going to slowly transition out from that role. It really depends on who they're going to bring in to replace and things like that. The reason why I say that is because first thing first, when a new owner comes in, and it's not going to be one single owner, it's going to be a consortium. Let's not forget that. There's going to be an organization structure transformation, right? So it's in essence, it's called org trans. So an org trans will happen. And when this org trans happens, every senior leader or every senior director partners will be probably shuffled into different positions or maybe moved out. Yeah. The reason why they do that first thing is because they want to bring in their guys to align with the strategic vision of what they have, right, for the club or for the new business.
But that's just your assumption, right? That's not anything you've read.
But no, that's usually what happens in org trans.
I agree 100%. That is usually what happens, but usually this person isn't allowed to pick who the new owner will be, right? And Marina Granovskaia was actually part of who picks. And someone that would, if she wants to stay, she probably would have picked someone that doesn't want her to stay. Obviously, if she doesn't want to stay, it doesn't matter to her. But.
So I still don't believe that Marina or Bruce Buck, as it is being reported, has that authority to actually decide the owners. It's rather them being part of that discussion. Because they know what the vision of the club has been and they're going to be part of the discussion along with Rain Group. I think the final decision will be made by Rain Group, and these guys are probably assisting Rain Group in making those decisions is what is how I see it. I don't think so. They are the ones who are actually making those decisions. And another point with that same regards is that, see, usually when it comes to a consortium, people will send their own representatives as board of directors, right? If there are three people involved, three parties involved, there are going to be two representatives from each of these three parties, which means 6 board of directors for 6 roles. Then where is Marina going to be? Like, there is no room for her.
Marina isn't currently on the board of directors anyway.
No, she's going to be part of the top level management, right? So okay, I understand when you mentioned board of directors, but she is still in that. No, wait, she is part of the board of directors, right?
No,
she is part.
Right? She's not on the board.
She is on the board. I think she's one of the directors, right? So,
pretty sure she's not. Is
Yeah,
Marina on the Chelsea board?
Yeah, Marina's a part of the board. Yeah.
Yeah, she is part.
I thought she was. Okay, no, wrong. Fair play. Gone.
She is part of the board, along with Tenenbaum, Bruce Buck, the new guy, David Bernard, and all of these guys. So that is the place. Like, each of them will bring in their own representatives, which makes it even harder for her to get hold of a position in the board. Right? It's not a single person board where like Roman decides, okay, fine, there's going to be 8 members, and all 8 members are going to be my guys. Here it's going to be 4 parties, which are going to be sending 2 people each, and that's going to make up the 8. Which means Marina doesn't have a seat at the table. That's the reason why I think she's not probably going to continue, and she's going to slowly transition out of the role. How they handle the transition is up to how Todd Boehly wants to do that. That's my take on it.
Todd Boehly for 100%. I mean, it's 8 people. Is there a legal limit as to that there can only be 8 people on the board?
No, 8 was just No, 8 was just a random example that I gave you. 4 members
exactly, because if anything, considering they're not all equal shares, I doubt that if they do want to put their people on the board to represent their views, they're probably not going to have even number of them, because otherwise, what's the point in having different splits of shares?
Right. Sure. But then she doesn't have any backing in that sense as well. Like, even if it is just 3 members with 3 different shares, and 1, 3, 5, and then another 2, right? Still, Marina doesn't have one person to back her as a representative on the board.
I'm really confused. What are we going on about here in terms of members and stuff like that? I'm so confused what you're trying to explain, Vijay. Sorry.
No worries, Pai. So I was just telling that when a consortium takes over an entity, it's going to be multiple parties involved, which means each of them are going to be sending their own representatives to form the board, right? So who's going to be backing?
Todd Boehly makes the decision who is on the board. The consortium is not like, if you look at the consortium, Goldstein is only going to be focused on the stadium. We don't know what Vice is doing, but he's 88. Like, what is he going to do realistically? Clear Lake have voting rights with Boehly, and that's where the majority of the funding comes from. Like, it's not, Boehly is the controlling owner. He makes the decisions. The other guys aren't going to get involved because they're
not directly comparable to a normal business takeover. Like, a football club is a business, but it's not a normal business.
I'd slightly disagree to that. The reason why I say that is because even if Goldstein is going to be just taking over the real estate side of things, he'll still have his representatives on the board.
Why?
He needs to have that because of the decisions that happens in the board needs to be either reflective of what his strategic objectives of the club is. That's the reason why
he's not the owner.
He doesn't have to be the owner. So if you let's take it this way, right? You have
he doesn't have control, bro. Only Boehly has control with Clear Lake. They're the only people that make the decisions here. He doesn't get to put people on the board because he's a part of a consortium.
He still can elect representatives for the board, right?
Well,
I don't know.
He could recommend them to Boehly, but as you've seen, Boehly's already added 2
Boehly
non-executive.
will have the maximum number of people on the board because he's the controlling one, right?
But then everything goes through Boehly, bro. It's not like, Vice comes in, I want these 3 people on the board. That's not how it works. Otherwise, they wouldn't be allowed to take over. It'd be a right mess.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know, if I'm honest. I don't know. I'm not sure if anyone knows for sure how the whole structure at Chelsea is going to look in a few months, weeks, years time, in terms of how many people are going to be on the board, who will have decided who's going to be on the board. Obviously, there is certain examples that usually that's how things go, but usually
that's
on average,
usually
more businesses go under than don't. So let's hope we're not, if we go by usually, let's hope we don't do it that way, I guess.
There could be a difference. Like, the way that I see it is from a management perspective. But what you're saying from a footballing perspective, it could be different. Maybe the way that the board gets elected could be different. But usually that's how management consultancies even, advise the, boards to strategically align. That's the way that that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Fair dues. But Pice, to take it back to more focusing on solely Marina Granovskaia and her kind of potential future. While VJ might certainly be right, she probably didn't have a decisive vote on who comes in, but being part of the discussion, at least as it's been reported, of course, could be things are sometimes reported wrong, I suppose. But certainly has been reported that her input will have some sort of, or did have some sort of relevance to whoever wins the thing. So, Pice, I mean, again, it's purely speculation. We don't know for sure whether Marina Granovskaia will want to stay, will want to leave. Right, we just don't know. But you are one of the biggest advocates of back Tuchel. If it's so important for Tuchel that Marina stays, is it a must that Marina stays? If she can be convinced, I suppose.
Look, I'm not an ITK or anything, but I'm just saying that report and all that Tuchel is such a big fan of Marina. Like, that's not exactly true.
Well, you've got to elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, I mean, I can't go into too much detail, but I know it's not exactly that. Tuchel himself, let's just say this, Tuchel himself said that he would be open to adaptation, which means he would be open to new people or a new sporting director. Of course, it would be helpful if she'd stayed this summer, for sure, because it's just a smooth transition. I've always been an advocate of that, but at the same time, if we want to go places as a club and consistently challenge, we need to get rid of her. There's no doubt about that.
Fair enough. Clutch, what's your opinion?
With Marina, I think, she's good at what she does, but I think she needs somebody else there to handle the football side of it. Like, you need somebody who's going to be like, well, we need this, so we need to direct this, and she can deal with, like, the deals, because that's what she's good at.
She's too slow, bro. She's not good at deals at all. She's way too slow. She's incapable of doing 2 deals at once as well. Every market, we're so slow off the mark, it's embarrassing. Look at our windows after we've won things. It's honestly disgusting.
You kind of wanted Jim Ratcliffe earlier, and it took him from March till April 29th to turn up with a bid.
No, but it could have been a tactic, as I said, to kind of throw these guys off the water. And
it could have been. But if it was, it really badly failed.
Sometimes things do fail, but if you bid back then of course. I swear, if you're coming with a 4.25 billion bid, like, would you really want the bidding more? Like, I don't know, from a business perspective, like, it makes sense to come in late, He's maybe trying to copy what Abramovich did. I don't know. I don't know him.
All I know is he.
All we know is that he failed. So whatever his ideas might have been is that they were not good, because otherwise it would have worked. So
maybe failed. He's not fully out yet, apparently.
Yeah. Let's say most likely fair, right?
Yeah, most likely.
Well, I do hear what you're saying in terms of he might not want to get involved with that, but if he doesn't want to get involved with that, does he want the club properly? Because the others were willing to, and he wasn't. So it's certainly a tough one. I mean, Marina is, like I say, obviously Pi said he's not sure whether Thomas Tuchel is necessarily that big a fan of Marina. Obviously, reports are what reports are. His statements are what his statements are. I'm not sure you can just him saying he's willing to adapt or to certain adaptations. There's no way of knowing whether he included Marina in that or not. Like we would just never know. Like it could be, but it could also not be type thing. It's a tough one. I'm just curious what the Telegraph has come up here. All right, contracts, fair enough. Sponsors, all right, fair enough. Not exactly surprising. And Romelu Lukaku, really? You think that's our biggest problem? I think that's quite far off the ball. But here we are. What else is there to say at this point? What else is there to say at this point? I mean, we're going into this process now where Todd Boehly will be having these exclusive talks. Hopefully within, apparently, 5 to 7 days, there will be a, I don't know. What do you reckon then, Pys? In 5 to 7 days, is that when we'll hear something official of Chelsea and Reign that this is who we decided on, and then we're going to put it to the Premier League and the UK government? Or do you think we'll only hear official things from Chelsea after the UK government and Premier League have agreed to things?
I think in terms of Chelsea, you'd probably hear something when it's probably fully completed. I think like everything's completed. Then they'll probably put a statement out saying, transactions gone through, blah, 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 welcome, blah, 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 that sort of thing. But in terms of Reign, I mean, they've not said anything. They've not communicated any statements, even, any time through this whole process. So I think we'll just hear stuff from reporters, really, that get told things. Honestly, I guess if it is 5 to 7 days, he's been picked as a preferred bidder, then we'll probably get something which said, obviously, like, when it's done, the agreements have been signed and things like that. We might get statements from the government if it goes to them, Premier League, that sort of thing. That's probably the next step.
There you go. Why? What a day. Boys, I'll start with you, Clutch. Any last thoughts before we round this out? It's been a whirlwind of a day. Obviously, I titled it Breaking Todd Boehly as the new Chelsea owner. Not quite that far yet, but, unfortunately, that's how YouTube works. What else am I going to say? Preferred bid, and I'm going to have 17,000 words in a title, right? But any last thoughts? Are you happy we've at least made some sort of progress? What I'm most surprised by is that all of this happened in one day. We're kind of like, it wasn't, how I expected this to go. Maybe Pies felt it differently, but how I expected things to go was more like, okay, on the day before we'll hear, tomorrow we'll know things, and then it will slowly start like it happened in terms of Pagliuca is out, Broughton is out. And then later we'll hear confirmation. But I didn't think it would come out of nowhere. And I most certainly didn't think it would be accompanied by an insane bid that comes out in the morning, which could throw everything up in the air and still could theoretically, if Boehly and these people mess up these exclusivity talks, I suppose. But it's been a whirlwind day. But we've made some progress and steps into the right direction finally. I Clutch?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the UK government for controlling my emotions for the last 3 months. They're fantastic for that. I love them. They're so great. Can't talk enough about them. But I think this is what we need. We need to get on this right path, because my biggest thing has been it needs to get done. I was under no illusion that it was going to be quick or anything, because, I mean, selling a club of this size especially was always going to take a while, because there was a lot of fine details to go through.
We say that. How long did Elon Musk say to buy Twitter?
Elon Musk is just a different story. He just put $44 billion into something, and they said, okay.
But was that so far over what they're worth? Or
yeah.
Is it?
There's a lot of reasons he did that. I mean, it's political.
I don't even want to have a why did Elon Musk buy Twitter conversation. I'm just like, was Twitter worth so much less than those 44 billion? That's why it was quick.
Yes. The reason he wanted it was worth the money to him to put that much money into it.
Depends on his ambition for Twitter as well, Laurenz.
I'm curious what was how Chelsea's evaluation was like 2 to 2.5 billion pounds. What was that valuation of the company Twitter? That kind of.
I'm not sure exactly.
Because I know YouTube is like 180 billion or something insane. So I'm like, how much less is Twitter going to be? Obviously, there's no ad revenue, or less so, on Twitter for now. But yeah. In general, that kind of finishing up your last thoughts, or anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, it's just we needed to get this done so we can start planning for the future, because thank you, Roman, but we now got to plan the future after him, and we got some things to do.
We got some things to do now. I'm not usually one for conspiracy theories. I'm not sure if I would deem that one anyway, but interesting comment now that I read through it by SZD. Do you think that Roman Abramovich was aware of Ratcliffe's bid and asked for the £500 million increase of the bidders at the time? I think you're hinting at knowing that the Ratcliffe bid is going to come, he didn't want that to win, so he wanted to make sure that the other ones don't pay less, and then therefore Ratcliffe could win. I doubt it personally, but hey, I think it's an interesting shout to make. I think HM, you're absolutely mental. But hey, Vijay, your last thoughts on what's going on, and now that we finally have our new owners, or that we are looking like we will have our new owners reasonably soon, and we know who it's going to be.
Yeah. I think it's interesting if Todd Boehly comes in, the way that he's gonna set up the organization, the way that he's gonna make his moves. It really is going to be interesting on how see again how Roman took the club from Ken Bates is different, and how he made that into a successful club is different. Now a club which is already a world champion taking that into a more successful level. Obviously there are levels above this, but then running an already successful entity into an even more successful one is always very difficult. I'd be very intrigued to see how Todd Boehly is capable of doing that. But right now, I want this process, like how Pys and Clutch stressed out. This process needs to get completed as quick as possible. Otherwise, we're just going to lose on 2 transfer windows. I don't think so. We're going to be making those significant moves in the winter transfer window. First of all, the contracts are not going to be closed for many players. We don't have much of options to select from as well if it is winter transfer window. So if we lose this summer, then we probably are targeting 2024 summer, which really doesn't. I mean, it's still fine in certain aspects, but then I think Todd Boehly would be looking at creating some initial wavelengths. Waves. Sorry, not wavelengths. Initial waves once he comes in, and I think that's the reason why it would be better if this gets completed in a week or so that he's ready for that upcoming summer transfer window. Hopefully, it just gets completed. Lots right now rely on the British government. They've been telling us that they are very supportive in this acquisition for Chelsea. It's time for them to prove that.
There you go. Fair play. I was just trying to keep up with the comments at the very same time. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, before you're on your way out, because obviously you're aware that we're ending this now, subscribe and smash that like button. Please do. You asked, what's your name? Reveno. I'm confused. Can Ratcliffe still win? Theoretically, yes. If the exclusivity talks between Todd Boehly and Roman and Drain and Chelsea and whatever somehow break down, then theoretically yes, because then we'll probably back to square one. But let's hope that doesn't happen, because that really would make things take a lot longer. HM, we will wait and see how much money, or how little money, as in your opinion, he will be willing to spend. We will see and find out. What's funny about this is that him and the other people that own Yellow Dodgers have been very much so willing to spend a lot of money on them, and they are also, a hedge fund is also a shareholder with them. I'm not sure if a majority shareholder, to be fair, so I can't quite say it, but it could be. But there's certainly a hedge fund involved with them just as well as with us, and they were very much so willing to spend a lot of money for them. Now, Pys, last thoughts on your end? No Lewis Hamilton Chelsea. Instant dub, as Adash says.
Yeah, just waiting for the next bit of news now. I'm sure lots more is going to come out of the next few days. And yeah, if it is Boehly, or if Ratcliffe somehow does a RKO late on or something and somehow manages to win, even though Boehly's the preferred bidder, then just hope they do well for us. And it will just be interesting to see over the next months, years, how things go, what the strategy is, what they change. And it's an exciting time, but it's also obviously very scary as well, because we've only really known Chelsea with Roman Abramovich. So yeah, let's see. I'm looking forward to
it. I'm not sure if I would say I'm looking forward to it, but I'm certainly intrigued as to what's going to happen. I'm intrigued as to what's going to happen in the transfer window. I'm intrigued as to how the structure, if at all, is going to change. Is Hamilton going to leave? Is he not? Oh, sorry. I took a comment for a second too seriously, and then I realized. Anyway, will Marina leave? Will Bruce Buck leave? Will Petr Cech leave? Will we bring a director of football in? If so, when? What happens? How much will we consistently be willing to invest? How long will it take us to change sponsors? Because was 3 pulling out even in the meantime, even though they're obviously still on the shares? Is that enough of a contract breach that we can end the contract early? Because obviously, if not, we have a contract with them. So if we want to end that early because we're not happy with them now, we will probably have to pay them off to some extent. We'll probably not want to do that. So that will be interesting. What other new sponsors will be going on? I mean, we already have a preseason tour in America coming up in, East Coast in Florida. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, shareholders owning us is a big L, but I hope I'm wrong. Shareholders owning us is a big L. I mean, I see what you like. I see it, and I see why people would, for that reason, would have preferred someone like Jim Ratcliffe who would have done things on his own. But would he have actually been on his own? Because he owns his own INS company, but big company like Elon Musk owns his companies. He still has a board. Do you know what I mean? With people sat on it making decisions. Do you know what I mean? As every big company does, right? So I'm not sure if that would have been drastically different. We had a board now. Could Roman always overrule them? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? So we'll have to. I think it's very early to just say, "Oh, this is a big L" or "This is a big L." We'll just have to wait and see how it will go. Because if they happen to be in agreement for the most part and always on things that we want or that works, then there's nothing wrong with that. If they make wrong decisions, it's bad. But wrong decisions could be made by multiple people. I guess there is one positive way of looking at things. If there's one person being wrong is always more likely than 8 people, 10 people, 15 people. As you say, 4 eyes see more than 2. Do you know what I mean? It's the same. How one person can be wrong. It's unlikely that 10 are wrong. So there is obviously positives to take in every direction. There's negatives to take in every direction. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round it out here. I am not 1,000,000% sure. I will probably be back for an Everton preview tomorrow, but there will obviously be a lot less to discuss. Although I say that, hey, the night is still young, so there could be more news. And by the time we do that preview tomorrow, who knows what other things we do know by that point. Roman could overrule anyone at Chelsea. Yeah. But would the people just accept it and stay there, or would they then kick off? Do you know what I mean? But yeah. I think we're going to round it out here. I think I said that about 3 times. My mind is at 17 different places at once today because there's about 17 different things to do at the same time today. But yeah, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, if Saudi guys pulled out, yeah, you're saying they have pulled out. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. Like I said, on the road to 15,000 subscribers. Every new subscriber counts, so please hit that big red subscribe button. I would love to get there before the end of the season, even if it's, I guess, somewhat unlikely. But yeah, get that done. Smash the like button on your way out. Check out the boys in the description down below. Pisces website, CFCPys365.com. Please do check that out. It's brilliant. Follow Clutch on Twitter, and please do subscribe to VJ's YouTube channel, Sportswire, as you can see on screen, or as is linked down the description. Or, of course, follow him on Twitter, all the same. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you next time with potentially a new owner.